Baby.
I'm dying.
That's my baby.
We're going at it at 110%.
I just want 5 minutes of happiness, please. Just give me 5 minutes.
And they scored!
They did it!
Left.
What the hell was that? Oh, yeah!
What the fuck are you talking about?
What is up, fam? We are back. Another episode of the Weekly Roundup. I'm your host, as always, Steve. A little different this week. Obviously, Zach has had some prior engagements this week.
Yeah.
We got our man Daniel Bakley's been with us. He's here with me tonight. We're gonna have some fun. We're gonna talk some Phillies. We're gonna talk some Sixers. We're going to be joined by Jimmy Rivera in the second hour. We're also talk a little Eagles football as well. Obviously, every one of our episodes we are brought to you here on the Weekly Roundup is by eXp Realty, our good friend Mr. Foyo over there at eXp Realty, always looking out for us. So if you're looking to buy or sell a home, you're looking to change a career in brokerage, contact our man at Alan Foyo, eXp Realty LC at 302-682-8820 or visit him at alanfoy at exprealty.com. How you feeling about them Phillies, brother?
I'm feeling good about what I saw yesterday, and then of course today from Kyle Gibson, 7 innings, 2 hits, 10 Ks. You can't beat that from your supposed 3 starter, and he comes out there and has a performance like that, and then your bats are hitting well, so you start off 2-0. It's a good start, and I still think that they need to make sure that they aren't getting too ahead of themselves because it's only 2 games. It's a long season. Just make sure that they go game by game. And if they do that, I feel like they'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be excited about the first 2 games. Obviously, opening weekend. Couldn't ask for more. Especially for you got a strong start from Nola. Yesterday, you get another nice one from Gibson today. Now the bats are humming, and that's the one big thing that we all wanted to see. Everyone wanted to see if how this lineup would look when we actually got to some games that matters. Obviously, we're only 2 in, so
Yeah.
It's a nice little nibble size, but for a team that's been been telling us that the winning's coming. Do you think that this is a team that could potentially do it early on? Obviously, what I want to say, get to the poll question is, despite the wins yesterday and today, is there cause for concern with this team? Injuries, things that we talk about when we get into the longevity of what a Major League Baseball season ends up being. Do you have any concerns?
Yeah, I think the one thing that we have to keep an eye on is how the bullpen does, because of course you can't expect your starters to go 7-8 innings every start. There are going to be games when they only go 5 or 6 innings, and when that happens, we need to make sure that the bullpen is adequate. They don't have to be the best. They don't have to be really good. They just have to be average to above average to help this team out, especially last year when they were horrible and we barely missed the playoffs. So if we can get them at least average, then we're good, which in the first 2 games, they're okay. I didn't see anything crazy out of them. Like with Familia, I'm a little scared with him, but all in all, with the rest of them who we saw in the small little bit that they've had the bullpen out, they did a pretty decent job, in my opinion. So,
yeah, I mean, what do you think about the bats, though? Do you think the injury with with Moniak, getting his hand hurt. Obviously, it sucks for being able to put a nice staple early on in the season.
Well, he had 5 or 6 home runs in the spring.
Yeah.
Like a personal friend of mine who knows somebody near the system had said that the reason he wasn't getting a lot of time the past couple of years was because Girardi wasn't a fan of his. So that's why they had Halsey and whatnot of Velarde, of Lurin. And of course, he played himself into a position, which is why they traded Halsey in spring training, the 5-6 home runs. He was hitting really good. He looked like he was going to be a breakout star. And then, of course, right before the season starts, he gets that month-long injury. I hope it doesn't hurt him when he comes back, where guys are getting hot and then they wind up not going with him. I feel like it could give Girardi a reason not to use him, but I hope he does use him when he comes back. I hope he can come back and just slide right in there, even if it's every other game. Kind of like what they're doing. Stotts played yesterday, had a very good game, and then they sat him today. They didn't use him today, and it worked out. I hope that this team can stay healthy. Other than Moniak being out, I feel like the team was rather healthy on the offensive side. And we had 3 home runs today. I think we had 1 or 2 yesterday with the leadoff homer by, of course, the big guy Schwarber leadoff, which was a great start to the season.
Great start of the season. Great start to your first chapter as a Philly. It just sets the tone off for the right season. Right. Sets the season off on the right foot, on the right tone. One of these big guys you bring in immediately connects with the fan base. Even more so than he already has. After the announcement of his signing and things of that nature. So it's one of those things where definitely make a statement there. The question is the thing with baseball is if you can hold the longevity of it.
Yeah, exactly. And I have Cubs fans that I'm buddies with that told me, you're going to love this guy. He has the tenacity. He hits for power. Just don't expect him to hit 300. If he hits 250, that's a big plus, in my opinion. If he can hit 250 and then hit 30 plus home runs, I'm good with that. That gets me excited for what he could do.
You're so excited you're knocking stuff up around the room. Look at that.
That's what happens when you have kids. I'm going to have to talk to him.
I know how it goes. I know better than most.
Yeah. We got a couple comments in. We got Dave.
Yeah, I want to get to the comments. Yeah. I was literally just about to, get that one there. And you know how we always kick it off. We throw some love to our sponsor as well. Our first sponsored comment is Manscaped. So make sure you're using that A2D code. Get 20% off free shipping with that code A2D. That's 20% off free shipping with the A2D code, manscaped.com. Make sure you guys are doing that. I got some special type of giveaways. Anyone who make sure you screenshot your order. I'm going to be doing something over the next month or so. I'm going to work it out with Tom. We'll get some things done, not just with Manscaped, but with our other sponsors as well. First comment up, our good friend David. What's up? He just sucks against the Astros. But
that's a team that's been forking out a lot of money, and they just can't seem to get all those big signings to work together.
Now, Matthew, he's just hoping our minor league prospects can finally blossom. Listen, when you go out and put out the money, you get a couple big names. I feel like Reese Hoskins is one of these guys that really needs to kind of say, I'm no longer a prospect or a potential star or all-star. I am that other piece. If you get him being consistently with his bat, just give us good defense. Listen, he will be loved in this town. Like, listen, you're able to get some things happening. And we also have to also be a little bit excited. The simple fact with the DH this year,
I was just about to say that
it gives the Phillies another dynamic that we have. We've always it's just like 9 is you pray he gets on base. It's not like where you can almost be saying, well, we should be counting on a hit.
Yeah,
it's one of these things where we'll have to see how it plays out in the long run for the Phillies.
I think it's the thing that's going to benefit a team like the Phillies, where they can get that extra bat in the lineup, not have to worry about the pitcher. It allows a guy like Reese or whatnot, or Ogboom, to where they're the two guys that have kind of struggled a bit on defense. They can kind of play DH a little bit, not have to worry about that, and just focus on their hitting. And they brought in Kevin Long in from Washington. He also worked in Chicago. And then even though he's nursing a small injury, we still have Charlie Manuel, who was working with the team early on with the just individual style with each player, working with their hitting in the cage. It's just something where we can utilize that, and we've seen like a very small sample size of how well that's going right now. I'm just hoping that they can continue it continuously through the season with the hit.
Yeah, it's one of the things. Like, listen, you when you get these opportunities and you see them early on, it's great. This town loves baseball as much as we'll always be a football town. We'll always love our base. Like we'll love all four of our sports. For the most part, when you look at Phillies fans, that they are 4-for-4 fans. 90% of the time when we're talking about the people live in Philly, but.
Dave and Matt, we're getting to that.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a few minutes. Obviously, when we switch gears and get to football, I will absolutely touch on that, David, because there's actually something I gotta say about that as well. There's some people in the media I'm not too happy about right now.
Yeah,
not too happy about right now. And Matt, we'll get to that too. Exactly. That's what he's getting into. Yeah. But I guess, that they want us to switch gears here real fast. So let's appease the chat room for a few minutes here. Unfortunately, I don't know if people haven't been on social media too much. It's the first chance you're getting in is when you're tuning in tonight. Unfortunately, Dwayne Haskins has passed away. He was struck by a car at some point in time late last night. I think they said it was a dump truck. With as some more of the reports are coming in. And
he was training with the Steelers quarterbacks, running backs, and wide receivers.
Yeah. So Matt will also chime in, and I don't know what Gil said, but Adam briefly addressed his career in a light manner. Yeah, there were some guys who were out there just like pouring over, his I guess expectations of what was his NFL career. I don't see where that's necessary right now. It's not. No, the only thing that we need to concern with is just making sure Dwayne's family and friends have their time to start their grieving process and start the process of dealing with life without Dwayne. It's rough, man. Guys 25, 26 years old, barely been able
to scratching the surface of life.
Man. Like, I'm 41, 42 years old. So when you're sitting there saying someone's going at 20, like I've been there. I've lost so many friends over silly stuff like that. I remember waking up one day, guy was at my house, 1:30, 2:00 in the morning. Apparently 3-4 o'clock in the night, he was still out, running around drinking, wound up hitting the telephone pole. He was riding a bike. So obviously, he didn't survive that, obviously, I'm not sure the exact specifics of it, but, unfortunately Dwayne isn't with us anymore. So obviously thoughts and prayers with his family, his friends, teammates, coaches who've been with, who obviously had a position to touch on who he was as a person in life. There shouldn't be anyone talking about, what he didn't do in his career, what he was out doing. That it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't.
This is just a very unfortunate thing because he made like a comment. I remember when they interviewed him like last week, and he was looking to like have like a new leash on with the
Yeah, because
football. He was looking
especially with Ben being gone, like he can kind of get he doesn't have to worry about having the team still have to worry about still appeasing wanting Ben to still be a part of that team and moving forward, and they can actually move forward and start the youth process there and start figuring out what's what they are going to be going with moving forward. Was Dwayne going to be a part of that process? We talk about it all the time, is sometimes you get a chance to get a different look on your professional career in a different city, in a different system, and sometimes everything clicks and works out the way it should have when you were drafted, when you were here. Sometimes it just doesn't always work out that way, and you wind up with these situations where you have unfulfilled expectations, not only from yourself, from your peers, etc., especially when your life is kind of taken away in that type of way. Absolutely, Bryce.
But like we don't know too much more about everything with it. They just, like I said, they kept it a little bit like too much held back, which is good thing. You don't want to bring in too much until, like you said, you allow the families and everybody grieve, and then you can slowly let out all the information that you need to let out. All we know is that he was working out with the team. He was leaving. I guess he was doing some individual running, and then that's what happened.
Yeah,
he got struck, which is very unfortunate, and we won't speak too much more about it. But that we'll just send our condolences to his friends, family, and teammates.
Absolutely. And, and speaking of, moving on, obviously, Roddy McLeod decided he's going to, officially move on. He's not re-signing with the Eagles. We kind of figured that when he hit free agency, and, here we go. He signs a contract with the Colts. His time here is over. And I think a lot of your top tier Eagles fans kind of felt it was kind of time to move on from Roddy as it was, and wish him the best there in Indianapolis. I think he's going to make that defense better. Now that kind of rolls us into the next part of it. On the backside of it, I'll let you talk about it too. What is kind of your defining moment, because he had a few big plays on that Super Bowl run that if he wasn't there to make a play, it could have been a different situation. Not only the Super Bowl, but the I believe it was the Falcon game. He had a big 3rd and 2 stop that really changed the difference in that game as well. Like what is your memory? Is it him just destroying Cooks in the Super Bowl and throwing him to the ground?
Of course, there's that moment. He worked very well with Jenkins in the back end. He would play back, and then Jenkins would just be able to roam around, get in onto the line, do those safety blitzes, move around. He was like that extra linebacker, and then Jenkins would hang back, play coverage along the other wide receiver to allow like extra coverage, and it worked out great. Like, of course, he made great plays.
Yeah, we definitely got a lot of production from him. Yeah. Matt, we definitely got a lot of production.
It's just that there's two parts of him with the Eagles. There's the great part in the beginning where he was very healthy. In the beginning, he played, made big plays, helped us win the Super Bowl. But then there's the second part where he got hurt a lot, basically missed 2.5 years, like altogether, and wasn't there that much, and just sort of lost a step, in my opinion, once he got hurt. And he was never really the same. And now he's starting to get healthy, but the Eagles are in a different situation now. They're a new coach, a new system. There's a lot of new players on this team now. It's basically a younger team. And I assume that he saw the writing on the wall that we were moving in a different direction. and decided to sign with the Colts with his former offensive coordinator, of course, there. And so he has a little bit of
I'm not putting too much
familiarity.
weight into that. They paced each other while they were here.
Yeah.
We want to ring together while they were here.
Yeah, but it's a familiar face.
Yeah,
for him.
yeah. I mean, it's not to sit there and say like it's a familiar system or anything like that. But I do think he'll do well in Indianapolis.
But they do run a similar system as
I think
we do.
I think that's another thing. But I think he'll do well for them. I still, I think he still has some years left. It's just the question of how much juice does he have left to give. I didn't think the Eagles were really willing to find that out. With as you were already talking, he's been nicked up over the course of that contract. He's him and Malcolm did work well together. I think obviously over the last few years, we've all kind of see that the back end of that secondary has been taking a refacing over. Zach McPherson is a guy who's going to get a crack this year.
We drafted him in the 3rd round, so you got to see what he can do.
Obviously, Avante Maddox has a role in this team. Darius Slay. The fact that the Eagles are looking at a few of the guys that we were talking about last week for the potential cornerback to still be able to do that. But where I wanted to kind of lead into the Roddy McLeod thing is, yes, we're going in a different direction, but we were talking about it last week, like where you're at with this retool during this free agent period, and it gets to the point now that Roddy's gone. You're losing some guys on that back end. Yes, you do want to get younger there, but you still have some money to play with. And the news came out this week. The Eagles did a couple things this week. Obviously with the trade with the Saints, we were talking about it. I did, not a great fan of it, but I get it, what he's doing. He's making sure he has something in the bank in case Jalen doesn't work out. I'll give Howie credit for that. He's actually doing some of the right things that he should have did for the quarterback beforehand that all of us destroyed him about.
Yeah, you remember me last week saying that I would rather have 3 picks, and I was kind of against trading it. But like when I saw it, I was like, "Oh, I had to see what the trade was because I didn't see it right away." And then when I saw it, I was like, "Hey, that's actually pretty good," because the Saints were kind of desperate to get guys, and now they're kind of in that we need to do something now. Where the Eagles,
they still think they have a window open where like we knew we were playing with house money last year. I said it a bunch of times. Like whatever happens, I think it's great for getting these guys experience, playoff experience. Feeling that pain, that sting, making them get that taste in their mouth, so they're hungry coming this year. I hope those are some of the things we see manifest themselves on the field. That young offensive line getting experience. This is going to be. I still believe this team's power is in the ground, is in that offensive line. That you should be a run first, pass second type team. Yes, you still have some option stuff with Jalen. I hope to see some development with that arm, especially he's been working with big TB12. He's doing his work as one of the things that we talked about that he did. Like he was lacking the actual things that we say are elite quarterback. He's doing those things necessary to trying to correct those things, to make that better, to make it stronger. So it's not as much of a weakness for him. Hopefully he gets a little bit better at reading too, not just with some arm strength as well. But now that being said, we also have to look at where we are. Yes, we've done some good things with some of the signings. I like the fact that we addressed some of the linebacker stuff. I still believe we still need an edge rusher. We'll see what happens with the draft now. Obviously, we lose one of those picks. Still have 2. We got 1. We got 2 more for next year.
And we moved up that 6th rounder, and it became a 3rd rounder. So we have 2 first. I believe we have a second. We have 3 third now. And we had like a 4-2.
And I think
we had a lot of picks.
That's what we'll find. So where the Eagles go and make a run on linemen or hybrid.
I could see him. I could see him
rushers.
moving one of those third into a second. I could see him trying to do that to give him 2 and 2 and 2. Or
we'll see.
And
we'll see. It's really interesting what could be with the draft, but I think the question is now: is this off-season free agent signing period? Is it a letdown if you don't go get Mathieu now and go all in for your secondary this season? For it was one of the big weaknesses is those guys that didn't have Slade Jr. on the back of their jersey. They were having problems. And that, with pass coverage and things of that nature, obviously Avante Maddox was one of the rare bright spots, but the rest of the secondary left much to be desired.
I thought Anthony Harris did a great job in the safety.
He did a great job, and he'll have another year to prove that. I'm not sitting there saying that, but the rest of the guys left a lot to be desired. Yeah. If you have Slay and then you bring in Tyrann Mathieu and go all in, I think one that changes that off-season grade from a little bit of a disappointment to hey, let's see what happens, and then you go and make a big splash at the draft, regardless if you just stay where you're at and draft where you're at, or you get.
And I think a very underrated line. I think an underrated signing that they made was bringing in former Chargers player Kaiser White. I think I get a lot of things about him being a great player, and for the price that we got him for, we got him for 1 year for barely nothing, and then we added 4 years of void at the end of his contract to kind of lower it even more. We got him for nothing, and we already said
plays. That time the Phillies are definitely still loaded. And we just got to see the consistency throughout.
I just got to do it one game at a time with the Phillies. But they do have a lot of good power on that team. And I said it earlier, I was very happy with Kyle Gibson and how he performed. If he could do that for 3/4 of the season like that, and then of course you're going to have some bad games out of him. That's a big plus. That's a good thing for the season as your number 3, because you expect Wheeler to be lights out for most of the season, and you should expect Aaron Nola to do better than he did last year.
Yeah, I mean, he did the thing opening night, opening day, whatever.
Very solid. It wasn't bad, wasn't great. It was solid. He did enough to keep them.
Well, considering what we've seen in down there, down in Florida, he was getting shelled pretty hard. Yeah. So it's good. It's nice to see. As soon as he came up, he did.
I just hope it's not another Cole Hamels where he becomes a big pitcher, gets very noticed like Hamels did, and then he just takes a nosedive. I don't want him to have that same effect, because that's what it seems like he started to do last year. He started to take that nosedive, and I'm glad what I saw right now. I just hope that he can keep the consistency going as expected. That's why we thought Wheeler was going to be brought in to just give him some help. But we still expected Nola to be the guy, but wound up Wheeler's the guy, and now Nola's going to be his wingman.
Yeah, I mean, definitely like what you've seen out of him tonight. Very, very strong outing for him. That's exactly what we want to see out of Gibson. It was, one of the things that I think fans were kind of 50-50 on the fence about, that, didn't know how to really feel about him. Again, that's one of those things where I was saying, the opening day, opening weekend, however you want to call it, 2-0 start. It's a strong, nice start to kind of give this city a nice big red Philadelphia Phillies punch in the face of these fans to say we're back. As Tommy was already sitting there saying, this lineup is absolutely loaded at this point in time. I think the DH thing actually is one of those things that will actually play in the Phillies' favor this year. Yes, I think us as fans, we've seen these great lineups falter before. It's a different game. This is a different game.
Yeah.
As much as I want to hold on to some of that stuff, that they literally made this game where unless you're one of the top 5 pitchers in the game, it really isn't going to matter that the bats are going to find a way to find some holes.
And it's nice that they're not getting the bad media attention that Atlanta's getting right now with the whole Acuna Freeman thing, where Acuna's coming out here saying he got bullied
but it's
by Freeman.
We've been in those situations before, with other players and things of that nature. Fans have been through the Scott Rowland, the whole Scott Rowland era and things of that nature. How that whole thing played out. People also, so I know a lot of fans were up until probably like the last few years of Kobe's career, a lot of fans were still mad that he kind of shined off Philadelphia when he wanted out of Charlotte, and he didn't try to come to Philly. Well, a lot of things plays off as that, how things are in the front office, how things are perceived in media, is one of those things where you have to wonder, is that one of the things that's keeping this big free agent signing from happening this offseason with Howie Roseman? He's built up a reputation of himself. Whether you like it, love it, or hate it, he's also makes things happen to be able to make moves to keep this team not just in contention, but arguably, we should be tooth and nail fighting at the Dallas Cowboys for the division title again, and should be another one of those tough seasons where you got to get some breaks. Obviously, we'll see how it happens. What do you think is one of the things that's going to happen? Do you think it's Mathieu or bust? What are you feeling?
And I was just about to bring him up with the increased talks with him, is because I was seeing him talk. I've seen him talk to every single team, yet he hasn't signed with anybody. And now it's I think
what we're trying to do is Howie's trying to get him down to our price.
Yeah, exactly. And
but you have to remember, when Howie does this, he also makes sure he has money for everything he's going to do with signing the contracts for everyone for the draft, which we have multiple more picks than we do. And he also tries to make sure that he has room to at least sign 2 or 3 guys that are already on this team to contracts. And you have guys who are having contracts that are coming up at the end of the season that you would like to probably get done, at least by the midway point of this season. So you have to see how that plays off. We have to see how it works out. Can we get him here on a team friendly deal? I think
the longer it goes, because he's gone. This is team 6 or 7 that he's talked to. The longer it goes, the smaller the price tag will get, because he's not going to get the price on that many teams, because he's going to, at some point in time, he's going to just be like, okay, I just want to sign with the team now. I don't care about the price. And that's where a team like the Eagles are going to be able to capitalize on the smaller price. Whereas, say his price tag was $10 million, you might be able to get him for 5 or 6 just to get him signed, so he knows what team he's going into before the draft, because once the draft hits, that's when his stock goes down.
Yeah, because then it's like, oh, I go get a safety in the the second or third round, could potentially fill in that role, and I don't have to pay him more than $2-3 million a year, where if you're gonna go in and get in on this market for him, it's I think the Saints are the only real competition. I mean, that I think that's there,
and they don't even have any money either.
I mean, we're still kind of close up against it too, so it is kind of rough. So, I mean, you have to see how it winds up playing out, but for this offseason to be successful, is it Mathieu or bust? at this point in time.
I don't think it's. I don't think
you
it's
didn't get the wide
Mathieu
receiver.
bust.
If they would have gotten Calvin Ridley, we wouldn't be having this conversation. We would say absolutely, it's a successful free agent signing period. We didn't go spend too much money. We didn't overspend on this X, Y, and Z. But I'm sitting there saying, as it's playing out, it looks like it's continually built towards defense, which we both all agreed that we needed help on defense, right?
Yeah, we need help.
So,
I don't think it's like I said. I don't think it's Mathieu bust. I think they weren't really looking at him because they thought his price tag was high, and they were content with not going that route. They brought in White, they brought back Harris, but as his price gets lowered, then they become more interested because then the price tag is more favorable to your team.
I know,
like you just said, Ridley. He had a favorable price tag going into talks, but then he ruled that with the.
I still think this time next year he's going to be an Eagle.
I just don't know about that because that's a year off for him, and
it's a year off for him. He's a younger man. It's not like he's having an injury. Listen,
the Falcons are going to still want a second, and you're not going to give up a second because that was the price tag now, and he's missed a year, so you're going to have to drop the price tag. And
which
I feel like the Falcons
have an abundance of picks, which we'll be able to kind of do.
I think the Eagles would trade for him, but I know they wouldn't be like, okay, we'll trade a second. They're going to be like, no, you're going to drop it to third now or fourth, at least a third at least, and then go from there. But they were looking at him. A lot of people were like, why didn't you go for any of the other wide receivers? They weren't just looking at any receiver. They were like, they had one receiver in mind. Pascal, they did sign, but that was more like just a depth signing where he cost us
not just that, also depth signing, but also I think hopefully that means we will see less of JJ or White sign.
Exactly.
Hopefully that'll be the end of him. We don't have to.
And some of the guys that signed, they're trying to redeem themselves.
And speaking of which, what do you think about the hurdler kid they just signed? Allen?
Allen, like I said, it's
now I'm actually more excited about that because I think that helps your problem on the return game more than anything.
It kind of reminds me of when we signed back in the day Bloom. He had that Olympic background.
If Bloom was bigger, it might have worked out. But I don't think he ever had that football speed. We'll see. I mean,
But it reminds me of the same thing. I don't expect anything from it, but maybe a return game spot for him. That's what I see out of him. If he does anything more, I'd be surprised.
Yeah, I mean that's where I'm kind of sitting on it too. Is with him is right where I have him at. Maybe someone when you go 4 or 5 wide where he may have a catch or two here, get put in the right position. Jalen getting 8, 9, 10, 15, 20-yard gain for trying to get a short yardage first down, whatever, however it may have you. What you hope is he doesn't completely push out a guy like Greg Ward Jr. because he's always been Mr. Clutch with having big catch. Maybe not the guy
but
who's always out there.
Yeah, but to me, he's only been a guy that's shown up every now and then. He's had a couple of clutch catches, but that doesn't warrant you like a lock of a spot. Like if you get outplayed by a guy like this, then he deserves to make it over you. Like the only guy that I'm kind of like, okay, this is the only guy that needs to make the team. I'm stuck with him is Devontae Smith to me. Everybody else can make the team or lose the team. They have to fight for spots. I feel like he's the one guy that is a lock to me in the receiver core. Anybody else, it's fair game.
Yeah, I mean, good portion. I mean, you still have to think, that they're committed to Dallas.
That's tight end.
But
they're committed to him. Like him and Smith have been the two guys on the team that Hurts goes to a lot, and he relies on. They do their thing day in and day out, and they make the plays. And coming into this draft, what I like is a lot of guys are kind of falling because of the 40 time, whether it's defense or offense. Hamilton, the safety from Notre Dame, was supposed to be a top 5 pick. Now he's fallen into the teams because his slow 40 time. Same with all the top wide receivers, Lendon, both guys from Ohio State, the 2 other guys, they're dropping because of their 40 times. It's something where you look on paper and you're like, these guys have football speed. You might not have 40 speed, but they have football speed. And if they're dropping, that's something that can only help out the Eagles, because somebody could fall to them that they didn't expect to fall to them at that 15 spot, and it would benefit us. Like the Drake London from USC, if he falls to us, we would expect him not to get there. We expected him to be picked in the top 10, maybe 13. If he falls to us, more than likely, I think we'd probably take him to pair him with Devontae Smith. Or if Hamilton falls, just like you said, with the talks being with Tyrann Mathieu, say the talks run into the draft and Hamilton falls to us. That's a cheaper option for us, drafting a guy like Hamilton to play that position. He might not have the experience as Tyrann Mathieu, where Matthew is more of like the leader on the defense, where he can talk to your team, call the plays out, and read the defenses. That's a guy that you can develop in your offense and get him for cheap for the first couple of years, because you're the team that drafted him. There's a lot of things that go into it. And I think this is the one spot where Roseman does do a good job at and noticing things. I just hope that he doesn't do too much of it, of course, like he did a couple years ago. But I felt like last draft he did very well with how he drafted, and we have a lot of picks to add to the team and do the homework to make this team better.
Listen, you have the capital to do it. I already said, there's no excuse why you can't, not only fill need, but also put weapons around this team that you like. Yeah, we're still like in a rental year for Jalen Hurts, but there's no reason why you can't build the rest of your team for whoever may or may not be the quarterback in 2 to 3 years. To actually have a good defense, in a fairly developed offense and young offensive line to go into the future with. We'll see what happens. We'll see what's left in the tank for BG. We'll see if Josh Sweat can take another step forward. We'll see how Hassan Reddick looks in this offense. We're gonna see, and
I do think we have to thank
as much
Kelsey.
as we destroy how he does bad on picks 1 through 2 for his last 10 years. He doesn't do a bad job of drafting anywhere from 3 to 7. He always finds talent. Yeah, he always finds talent. He always finds talent. That's the one thing we have to let the nerd kind of do his thing, so to speak. I guess as much as we do hate Howie here, we have to give him the benefit of the doubt, and let's see what happens this year. Let's see what happens when he has no reason to sit there and reach for anyone at this point in time.
I think we have to thank Kelsey too for coming back. He was ready to retire.
Yeah,
he came back. That
gives you another year. That also gives you another year to either groom or someone or find the guy. Yeah, like where you could still find him later in this draft. It could be in next year's draft. You never know. But Kelsey did help him another way with that. But you also got to watch out for Jason too, because it could be he's coming back because his heart's telling him, not because his head's sitting there saying, you know what, we are ready. I want to be there for my guys, and maybe he's not physically there, and maybe it hurts Jalen, it hurts the running team, and it hurts the team this year. You never know. I'm not saying that is, nor do I hope that happens. But Jason Kelce is the captain of this team. He's the face of the last 10 years of this franchise for a lot of reasons, from the Snow Bowl game to the victory speech and everything in between. Jason Kelce is beloved in this town and will be for a long time. I don't think he'll have to pay for a beer or a plate of food in this town for quite some time. That being said, hopefully we have a great draft. We have a great year coming up. We'll see how it's going on, and David's hopping in with some soccer scores. What's up with that? There you go.
Well, I wanted to bring that up.
Let's get some soccer scores.
We'll talk about it for like a minute. I won't waste too much time. But Union just played today.
About our kicking stateside guys. You guys showed
showed some love. They won today against the Crew, 1-0. It was another clean sheet for Andre Blake, arguably the best goalie in MLS. He's been showcased in the past 5-6 years. The Union improved to 5-0-1 on the season. They're on pace with the Galaxy. Those are the two top teams in the MLS. I believe they're both 5-0-1. Those are the top teams. And we have a team that we can count on right now to possibly win it all and win the MLS Cup. That's how stacked this Union team is, and it all starts with the back end at goalie. And I feel good. Like, I've watched every game. I watched the game earlier, and they just look so good from front to back. They just know how to defend and get those counter second chance goals and just win. And it's a nice thing to see right now, especially since we got the teams like the Sixers and now the Phillies playing, and then the Flyers have stunk it up this year. They need to improve, but I'm just glad to see how well they've been able to start out on this first month of the season here. But the transition from that, I know, like I just mentioned, the Sixers. I want to get your thoughts on the Sixers.
We'll actually. I literally was just about to switch gears here. Yeah. We're gonna talk some Sixers basketball. And that being said, this next segment is brought to you by FanUp. Is the best way to enjoy fantasy sports, daily NBA contests, and more. Win great prizes. Sign up. Use promo code A2D for 5,000 bonus points. Plus, that's about a $50 value. That's that's on that FanUp app. And that being said, we're gonna hop into some Sixers talk, and season's coming to an end here. Obviously, last game or so. I think it was tomorrow, right?
Yes, they have one more game. I believe it's against Detroit. I believe it is.
Yeah, I believe you're right. And then we got the Toronto Raptors, right?
It's not a lock yet.
But as of right now, it's the Toronto Raptors, and I think that puts a little worry back at some fans' hearts, because they haven't been kind to us in the postseason in recent years. Listen, they've always been a tough out for us. It didn't matter where it was, at the AI area that they pushed us to 7 games. They knocked us out a few years ago when we felt we could have gotten over the snide, the hump that the Brett Brown era had caused upon us. Now we're year 2-3 years into the Doc Rivers experiment, and he hasn't been able to really break that curse as well. So we're gonna get into some of our playoff predictions, insights, thoughts. I don't think it matters like that if we happen to get matched up with the Raptors. It doesn't matter to me. I think this team, as constructed, I think they can. The way Joel Embiid has been playing this year, I do not think he can be denied. Yes, James Harden has been very hot or cold, hit or miss with him.
Yes.
here's the thing. You don't need him to be the guy he was 5 years ago, 10 years. You don't need him to be that. You have a developing star in Mad Max Maxey back there. You know. You have other guys that you can lean on this team. Mattier Stiebel has been giving you quality minutes all year long. I think we should expect more of that in the playoffs. Does he need to be a guy you can lean on? Absolutely not. You shouldn't have to be in a situation where you're leaning on Mattier Stiebel, where you're leaning on a James Harden. The way this team is built, you have a team that should be able to go and make a run. Or do you have more than three? You don't. You have guys that play well together, that has proven they can win together. Yes, we have a small sample size of what James Harden is. Listen, as long as he's giving you 10, 10, and 10, I don't care. He doesn't need to give me 30 points, 15 rebounds, and 10 assists. He doesn't really need to give me that. He just needs to be better than what the nonsense Ben Simmons has given us the last 3 years. I think he can do that. Do I think?
Yes, but I still expect him. I still expect them to get 20 to 25 points. That's the thing, because Maxey has been inefficient with his scoring.
Absolutely,
one day he'll get 25 to 30, but then the next he gets 7 to 10. And when he does that, you do need that other guy to complement Embiid, and that's why you bring in Harden. Harden's doing it great with the passing. That's why I'm a little bit lenient with it, because I'm like, okay, at least he's getting guys involved. But when he's getting 14 assists, but then half of those are to Embiid, and you're not getting everybody else involved. Like Maxey today, he had 18, so that's good. But Harden did get 22, which I'm happy with. He at least got 22. He at least got somewhere, and then got Maxey involved.
I don't think
I need that.
I don't think you need a superstar performance. Like
No.
As much as like everyone wants that. Like, yes, we should all expect him to play at a high level. We're all going to expect that of him. Yes, we're going to come hard on him. I really think everyone. I don't want to hear, oh, he's out of the strip club. He's doing. I don't. As long as he's giving me this best on the court, he could be doing. Whatever nefarious stuff he does with whatever nefarious people he does, as long as he's not putting anyone in danger and he's ready to come play every afternoon or night for this team, I do not care. I don't want to hear it. It is nonsense noise. Yes, they are human beings. They'll have off days. They'll have off games where just things doesn't work out the way they want to. This is playoff time. As long as you don't lose more than 3 games, let's go.
And I feel good that we might not have to play Toronto. I feel like we can win tomorrow against Detroit. Boston has to play the Grizzlies tomorrow, which they got back Ja Morant, and then he had a good game today. The Grizzlies scored 144 points today. I feel like the Grizzlies could win tomorrow, and we could be matched up with the Bulls, and that's a favorable matchup with us, because I believe Embiid is undefeated against Chicago, and when he plays, and they just lost Lonzo Ball for the rest of the season, so he's not going to be playing. A lot of the success the Bulls had early on in the season was because they're healthy, and they don't have all their guys now, and I feel like that could be an easy first round matchup for the Sixers to just get everybody going. Get in, get out. Yeah, they could easily sweep the Bulls, but then again, with how they play, they could easily go to 6 because they like to let teams get back into things. But say they're playing Toronto, say if it goes here right now, they're going to have a tough time with Toronto. Toronto knows how to play us. They have a deep team. I've said it for the past month and a half now. We barely get scoring from our bench. We've done the past 2 games, they've done better. The bench has done better, but Toronto gets 30, 40 points from their bench. That doubles what we get on our best night from our bench. So they don't have to rely as much on the starters as we do. And they could easily steal a few games from us. And if that happens, this is a series that could go 6-7 games if we don't play to our capabilities.
Listen, I don't think it really matters who we play in the first round. I think that they should take care of business. I just think what you want to see from them is starting to get a little bit more of consistency from some guys, so they can start putting things together.
Yeah.
Make sure that you don't have to put it in a situation where Doc has to coach you out of a situation, because then we're in problems. That's where I think our weakest link right now is our head coach. I'd like to see somebody tell me I'm wrong. Yes, would you like someone to play better or shoot better? Listen, we all like more out of. I think with what we got, it's more of a thing of that. Not the guys on the court are gonna fail this team. Is that I
Yeah.
feel that their head coach won't put them in a position to win the games the way they need to do it, and that's kind of my fear at the moment.
Yeah, just with how the teams played the past month, I still think that it's going to be iffy with how they look in the first round. I don't think the first round is a lock anymore. I still think that they could be beaten. Like if you would ask me 2 months ago, I would have been like, "Oh, first round we should be good. Second round is going to be the real test." But I feel like right now, with how Toronto's playing, we could be matched up with them. Say we were able to jump up to the 2 seed, we could be matched with anybody from Cleveland to Brooklyn. If we were matched up with Brooklyn, I wouldn't feel as comfortable as I did back when we made the trade, because they get a lot of scoring from the bench, and Durant's back. Kyrie Irving is back, where he doesn't have to miss any games um, because the whole thing was lifted where he can play at home now. It's just a lot has changed, and this team has been very inconsistent. They do a great game, and then they follow it up with a bad game. They might play 2 games good in a row, but then they play 2 bad games. Like we said, they lost to Detroit a week or two ago in a game that they should have won, and they lost. And that's who they play tomorrow. They could very well lose tomorrow, for all we know. But I want them. They did a great game today. I want them to follow it up with a win tomorrow, and at least have like a 2-game win streak or so that they can roll into the playoffs with good momentum. And then I'd feel a lot more comfortable with this team. I feel like this has been a theme the past couple of years: inconsistency. Even as a 1 seed, I still felt inconsistency, but with those teams, it was because of Ben Simmons. Now it's Ben Simmons, you can't use as an excuse anymore. It's you traded him, you bring in Harden. If Harden's not going to score 25 to 30 points, he better get at least 10 assists a game or getting guys involved, because I can't have him doing 15, 5, and 6. You didn't bring him in to do that. Even if Maxey scores 20, I still expect more out of Harden. That's your number 2 guy, no matter what. And if he's not getting people involved and he's not scoring, then that's a big like negative on this team. But I expect them to get things right going into the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, way I feel about it right now is, like I said, I still think Doc's our biggest problem, but I think like I said, like you kind of been reiterating the fact is you just get some consistency, put some wins together, find the right rotation mix, timing on your rotation mixes, and for the playoffs, and let's get this team ready for a run. The way Joel Embiid playing this year, there should be absolutely no reason why they are not an Eastern Conference representing in the NBA Finals. There's no reason for it. With how they play, with how Joe's played, with how they played with against the teams that they're gonna have to face on this side of the conference, it should be a no brainer that from the outside, like looking in, if you're not looking at the problems of it and where it's supposed to be, the Sixers should be the favorite to come out of the East this year. Correct?
I disagree right now. I thought they were going to, but I think the Bucks are going to be the favorite defending champions. They're coming in. They're playing some of their best basketball right now. And Giannis, has been playing a great ball. You just wouldn't know it because the other two big guys ahead of him in Jokic and Embiid are playing better than him. And it's allowed that team to play under the radar. They're the 2 seed right now. That's where they're going to finish. They could play anybody in the first round, but they score. They play defense, and I still feel like if you're the defending champs and you go in that high,
listen, I'm not taking
anything
anything away from the defending champs whatsoever. Yeah. I'm just sitting there saying, at the rate that Joe's dropping 40s right now, it's very hard to stop what he's doing. Not just that, I just think that what you're going to get from the other guys on the floor as well. I just think that it's Joe's time. I could be wrong. We'll see.
My only thing is Giannis could score 40 points too, and he could basically nullify Embiid. I feel more comfortable with the secondary players of the Bucks right now than I do the Sixers.
Why would you wish that bad juju on us, David? Giroux goes down to Florida and wins a cup with the Panthers. Why would you wish that bad juju on us? The simple fact that we're not going to be able to talk Flyers hockey on here for at least a good 3 years at this point in time.
It's possible they could wind up having a good off season and come back in like they did. Was it 5-6 years ago when they were one of the worst teams due to injuries, and then they came back and made it.
But then they still never turned that into anything. It was just like they were a good team, and then you can't get past. They haven't found a way to get from good team to a team that actually wins at least one and stay consistently winning.
Well, how many teams can say that they win in the past 20 years? Not that many. So if they've been able to make the playoffs here and there. I feel like 2 years ago was the chance in the COVID year when they played very well. Well, it's just that they couldn't get past the Islanders who were able to beat them in 7 games, which that was the year the Flyers had a chance to make that long run to the Cup, and I felt like they could have beat Tampa that year, but they lost, and they've gone downhill since then. But they got a lot of work to do, but they're going to have a top 3-4 pick to go with it, and they missed 2 big pieces in Ryan Ellis and Sean Couturier for almost 60-70% of the season, which was a big deal. They could easily turn this thing around next year and be better, but they need to hit on some of these draft picks going into the year.
Isn't that the problem for the last 10 years? They haven't been
no, it's that they have. But I think the thing with the Flyers is the coach. They always bring a good coach in, but he doesn't know how to work with the team. Like, we've had this issue, I feel like, ever since we let Laviolette go. Like, he coached that team. He came in and he knew how to coach those group of guys that we had with big egos and brought them to the Stanley Cup Finals with the journeyman goalie in Leighton. And since then, we've had a tough time finding out the right coach to bring in. And that's going to be the big thing, because when you have the right coach in, he knows what to do with the players. When he knows what to do with the players, then everything falls into line, because you have this great goalie and you just can't get the defense to play a certain way because they're constantly learning a new system from a new coach. And then we've had forwards that have been not playing well. That's why I felt like we should have got rid of Drew. Even though I love Drew, we should have got rid of him 2-3 years ago. We don't know when to get rid of guys on the Flyers. They hold on to them too long, or they hold on to the prospects.
When they got rid of Voracek, they should have got rid of Giroux.
I thought they should have got rid of both of them.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
And then when what's his name? Hextall was the GM. He was holding back talent too long when they should have just been playing up with the team. Flyers playing all the prospects, all the players that should have been playing. and they're actually getting time. And I think it was the right move because you're already playing bad now. You might as well get all these guys the ice time and all this playing time to see what they can do. And you've seen some of the guys that are actually producing a little bit doing so you can get a head start into next year. And because you've already had eyes on these guys playing now while you're bad, and they already are shown what they can do and if they deserve a roster spot for next year.
Listen, I think that the one thing you can is that yes, that looking forward, the younger guys that they'll get time. Well, hopefully, not all of them were wasted picks, etc. And they'll actually get the chance now. We'll see what happens. I still say it'll be 2 or 3 years before we see consistent winning hockey from our Flyers. But didn't want to change it too much. Getting back to the Sixers predictions. So you're hoping the Bulls, but what do you see? You think the Bucks are going to knock them off in the Eastern Conference Finals, or right before that, however it plays out?
I think they're going to move up to the. I think they're going to move up to the 3. I feel like we're going to beat Detroit, and I feel like Memphis is the second best team in the West, and I feel like they were doing it even when John Morant was out. I feel like they're going to beat Boston tomorrow. I thought Boston was looking great, but then they lost Robert Williams for the rest of the season a couple weeks ago, and they still play good, but then certain games that they lose, and I think they're going to lose tomorrow. I think it's going to be Boston and Toronto, and then I think like I said, the Sixers are going to play the Bulls. I feel like as long as that happens, I feel like we can get that in 5. It would set up a matchup between the Sixers and the Bucks in the second round, because the Bucks are the 2 and we be the 3, and that's going to be very tough. Like maybe they go into that thinking that they're like, we might have a tough matchup with Toronto with the 4 or 5, but if we get past them, who would you rather face in the second round, Miami or Milwaukee?
I mean, I guess you would say Miami, just because, like, if you're gonna want to duke it out with Milwaukee, wouldn't you rather do it in the conference finals? They're the defending champs, all that. Like, that's where I would want to see them.
Yeah,
but if that's the road you have to go, if you got to go, Miami, Milwaukee to get out of it, then that's the way I would rather do it.
And we've struggled with Milwaukee. The last game we just played against them, we had that double-digit lead, and we blew it and lost to them.
But what you take from it is that you can get up on them like that and just correct what you did to allow them back into it. And this is what I'm talking about with Doc, where I feel like he's the biggest problem right now.
Yeah.
Not who's on the roster, not who's hurt, not who's here, not who's not, like, not who's not. I think that you need to take a serious look at this guy right now. He has a reputation for a reason. That's great. Get me a ring. I don't want to hear anything else but it. You've had talented teams around you your entire coaching career, and you have not gotten over that hump either. It's his time to put up or shut up too. I think, as much as, Joel's kind of hitting his prime and hitting his stride on who he is as an NBA player, I think, we're almost seeing the dawn of what Doc Rivers is going to be if he doesn't get this team, a championship. If not this year, next year.
I have a funny feeling.
Without a good showing this year, there is no next year for him. I'm with you there. I'm with you.
Yeah, because I'm scared to going to the second round that they could lose again, because that's been the MO the past 4 or 5 years. We just had Don 19 chime in. What's up, fellas? What's going on? I'm scared. Yeah, I'm scared of that, but I have optimism that they can wake up, start playing great basketball like they started to do today, and they could make a run at this, because it doesn't matter how you do during the season. All it matters is how you play now. And I hope that he can get these guys playing the way they should, because on paper, They should be the favorite. Like you said, they should be. We got the talent there. It's just that they haven't been doing it consistently, and I'm hoping that they do. And he said, how deep in the bench does Doc go to during the playoffs?
Well,
I think.
I mean, really, like you have to think about it. That Joe's gonna be pulling 40 minutes. We know this.
Yeah.
We know there's no doubt he's pulling 40 minutes. The question is who else is going to be on that regiment or close to it? You have to feel that Max is going to play 30 to 35 minutes or so, something like that, right? So you don't really feel like that Doc has to go too deep into that bench. Obviously Danny Green will see minutes. He's been there before. I think Mathias is a guy that he'll kind of put lean onto a lot. Obviously we'll see DeAndre Jordan on the floor when Joe's not.
Yeah. Do you get any excited about like a game today where even though they just did really well today, that they got good production out? Reed, he had 8 points, 5 rebounds, and assists in 11 minutes a game. Do you think that? Do you think that maybe they see what he can do tomorrow, and maybe he works himself into like 5-10 minutes a game, but then he can be like an adequate piece? Because I feel like that's a guy that I was expecting to do that before they brought in Jordan, and Jordan didn't even play today. He didn't play. Georgia Stang was inactive today, and yet you didn't really need Jordan or him because they were able to still win, and they got a little bit of production. The bench guys today were Milton, Reed, and Joe. They only used 3 guys. And Thibault came off the bench today.
I already said, Mathias will be one of the guys that is going to see minutes and they're going to lean on in these playoffs.
I said it.
I think I'd be remiss if I didn't bring it up. How you feeling on the UFC fights tonight? Obviously, we got Jimmy coming on in about like 15 minutes or so.
Well, I got him. You see, I keep looking over. I got him on right now. Some of the fights are going good right now. They got Fluffy Hernandez going up against Josh Braun. That's about to get going. We had New Jersey's Mickey Gall, who got knocked out earlier, so that didn't go well for Gall. But it's a nice card.
I'll always be Team Tisha Torres. I'll always got love for her. I hope she does well tonight.
And she's a fighter.
Algio was always fun. When he used to do the CFFC commentary before before he went on this run to winning that title. I'm interested to see how that rematch goes because I know obviously everyone feels that Algio pulled up lame on that one and took the easy way out to get a belt and things like that. Listen, y'all don't know what the type of man Aljamain Sterling is. I definitely don't feel that's going to be.
Bad. He felt bad doing it, but.
He's played it up since then. He's played it up since then. Since everyone wants to.
It's all about It's all about that persona. You bring that in. The belt brings in more money for you, which you can't blame him for that. With the money talks when it comes to MMA, it does come in. You got 3 big time fights tonight on the main card. I'll be watching that when we go off after we.
That's the beautiful part. Like typically when we go off is right as like the preliminary card ends and the pay-per-view starts.
Exactly, but
one of these nights we're gonna have to hop back on here and do a little post pay-per-view wrap up on one of these.
Yeah. And
we'll be doing a little bit more MMA combat sports stuff. Been already talking to Daniel about it. We'll let you guys in on some more stuff. I've already said it. I'm gonna be doing a few giveaways this month. I'm gonna do something for Facebook, do something for Twitter. Yeah. So guys, make sure you guys are keeping tuned in. What's up, brother?
And what great person to talk about with some of these fights than Jimmy Rivera, a guy who's fought a couple of these talents that are going to be on the main card today. He's been able to, so you can kind of get.
And then not just that, dude. Last night with BKFC, my man Mike Richmond is still arguably. I don't think there has been a more successful underrated guy that has gone from mainstream MMA over to bare knuckle quite as successfully as Mike Richmond has. Undefeated. I think he's 3-0. All his fights, he's been absolutely just lightning fast on top of on everyone. And unfortunately, another former guest of mine, David Caveman Rickles. David is literally the king of weigh-ins, walkouts, etc. Nobody can out personify David Rickles.
I think the only guy that would maybe challenge him was was Lawler, with how he would do this personas, and that's why he transitioned over to
James LaHuna. Everyone forgets about James LaHuna when he came out and did the Men in Black thing, man.
Which was great, and then that's why Lawler transitioned over to a pro wrestling, which is he's doing a great job, and just because of that personality. And those are always one of the things that I like with the weigh-ins is seeing what guys are going to do now. And then Don said, Bryce, my guy, what's up?
Bryce and Don are typically are regulars in the chat room. We
got a nice choke attempt by Fluffy Hernandez. He's looking good right now on the ground. You can't beat the combat sports right now with all the avenues that you have with it now. 10 years ago, it was just UFC. Now,
here's one of the things you got to think about where combat sports has changed so much over the past 5 years. I mean, just not just that bare knuckle boxing has actually arrived, but boxing has also found themselves another level. It looked like they were petering and just you didn't really have any stars, anyone really talking about it. I don't know if it's kind of the Jake Paul effect or you're actually getting some fighters in there that people are actually getting excited about. We got Jerron Boots Ennis over here in Philadelphia. Not a lot of people are talking about this dude. He is an absolute murderer. He's probably the best boxer we've had in Philly since Bernard Hopkins. And everyone knows who the executioner is. So and then you go look at the other side of it. You also have combat sport jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu has blown up so much over the past 10 years, especially here in North America. It's insane because
over here we've had a guy that has been very successful in Eddie Alvarez. He in all different avenues, and now he's in one right now, looking to recover from some late defeats, and he's looking to get back in the win column. But he's been a big guy in the MMA local community that's had success here, winning championships.
He's kind of the guy that kind of let people know that like Philly MMA was around. But if you look over, that time, he's over at one, and he's kind of the guy in the area. But I think the young crop that grew up right after him. Exactly. Paul Felder, Andre Petrovsky, Sean Brady, Pat Sabatini, all these guys from the area, Jeremiah Wells is another one. There's just so many guys. The Dawkins brothers are another one that the other side of that coin with Will Martinez and the Machado background that he brings to the table. You have so much stuff happening in the area, and combat sports has changed so much, and then we still talk about the wrestling side of it, not pro wrestling where your WWE, AEW, etc. But the other that as actually is kind of split between what you call sports entertainment and combat sports. So I think that's the kind of the real question is what's going to happen to a lot of your high level collegiate wrestlers. Are you going to continue to see this battle that you've seen over the last 15 years or so of between pro wrestling and combat sports?
Yeah. It's just a great thing to see right now, and I just love how it's evolved over time.
Well, I mean, slowly, and I think the beautiful thing is you look at a lot of the other promotions. It's not just them having homegrown talent. You have guys shuffling back and forth between all these promotions.
Yeah, like you got
Between
guys.
Bellator, PFL,
Yeah.
UFC, from UFC back down around to these guys, and
CFFC, LFA has been a huge one the past 5 years where you might see a guy fight there once or twice, go up, but then go back
CFFC,
down.
LFA, King of the Cage, all these
Yeah.
promotions are kind of, like your developmental local promotions that kind of feed into, your Bellator, UFC, etc.
Yes.
You're gonna see a lot more of these guys kind of go like I said, I don't think it'll just be MMA. That's why I try to just say combat sports in general, just because I don't think you'll see fighters pin themselves into just one part of combat sports or mixed martial arts. You'll see more guys going back and forth with boxing. Even look what Paige Van Zandt, she actually went from MMA to bare knuckle boxing to AEW. Now AEW apparently is still going to let her do BKFC on top of it. So,
that was what was agreed on in the deal, because she had one fight left in the contract. She's booked for July. Yeah, July
that probably should be her last one, knowing how that works. But still, it's one of these things where I still think these are things that are opening up avenues of saying, like, you don't have to sit there and all right, like Amanda Serrano did it earlier in her career, where boxing was just having this problem. They didn't know how to promote what she was doing, and she was going to MMA. She was taking fights for Combata. She has done grappling tournaments and things of that nature, and she's arguably the most recognizable female boxer on the planet between her and Clarissa Shields. So it's one of these things where I think a lot of the combat sports athletes, regardless if you're going to pro wrestling side of things, like I think the fun part of the evolution of what has happened over the past 5 to 10 years of combat sports. It's not just
I'm interested to see what Shields does. PFL is coming back in a couple of weeks. You haven't heard much of her name going into it. I'm interested to see.
I think her next one is going to be her next one's going to be boxing more than we'll see her in PFL first, but we shall see about that. And then that's just I mean, I think the thing with PFL right now is that Kayla Harrison is still going to be there for at least a few more years at this point in time, unless the UFC buys her contract out because they weren't able to make something happen. So you arguably have someone who's probably one of the most dominant women fighters that we have.
Yeah.
Obviously, we don't know how rounded her game is. Obviously, high level judo background. It looks like a bigger, stronger version of Ronda, obviously.
Yeah.
We just don't, you don't know how well rounded that game is, and speaking of Ronda, she getting talked about from the current champion, Juliana Pena, sitting there trying to water down what she did and things of that nature. Is it just who Juliana Pena is as a fighter? It's just kind of, she's the antagonist that kind of like, she's literally the wooden spoon that stirs the pot at times. It just seems
she is, but then part of what she said was true, though, in my opinion, and with how Ronda is, like I've talked to a lot of people, like on the MMA side and on the.
Here's this thing: Ronda made this plan long before she ever became an MMA fight, like an MMA world champion. Like when she's like, say, I'm gonna be out by X time, so to start a family. Some people have medical.
But it just so happens she waits until she starts losing to do it, and
not
she's
really.
Really.
If you followed her career, I think there was 2 or 3 fights before it. She said she didn't know if she was going to do this for another year.
But then she goes and loses twice in a row, and makes it easier for her. And she's built this kind of pattern. She started losing judo. She leaves there for MMA.
Who's to sit there and says in 2 to 3 years that Ronda doesn't come back? Dude, if you follow her story enough, you know that she quit judo for 2 to 3 years, and then all of a sudden, her last year of eligibility to being able to do it, she comes back and winds up winning the judo gold medal. So it's one of these things like you can't just look at it from one side of it. So to make your point of that
no. But she's made it very obvious with what it's been built out over 3 different companies. She's done the same thing, and not to transmit too much, but she just did WrestleMania, and a report came out that because she was in the main event, she stormed out of the Hall of Fame, and then they put on a horrible performance. And now there's talks that she might be away for a while now. And it's like, and she apparently she was supposed to win, and they called an audible and changed it because of how she acted. And she's been difficult to deal with, which has been the case in the UFC and judo. Well, when things don't go her way, she throws this temper tantrum. That's been her biggest obstacle, is that and that's what I think Pena was kind of insinuating, was she has this bigger than life persona where she can be great.
I mean, you can pin that type of behavior on a bunch of different fighters,
but they're not doing it in 3 or 4 different promotions and whatnot. She's where it's been a thing that's carried with her over this place. It'll be one thing she did it one place, but she's done it in 3 different places, and it's become like a thing of her that's followed her around, and that's why Pena has said it. And it also didn't help that when Pena said it, she was standing right next to Ric Flair, who is the father of the woman that Ronda Rousey was getting ready to fight the next day, because Pena was interviewed at WrestleMania. That's where she got interviewed. So I think she kind of did it for that. I think she knew what she was talking about, and then she knew who she was saying it by. And I think that had something to play in it, because maybe she wouldn't have said it anywhere else, but she did it there. So it's like she wasn't lying, but then it was like a half. To me, it's like half and half, because Ronda Rousey was a big face. She was a dominant woman, but I felt like the UFC kind of made things easier by the way they booked her, where they didn't book her Ronda Rousey against any strikers until Holly Holm was the first matchup, where she actually went against somebody that actually was a very good striking opponent. And then, of course, she fought Nunez afterwards. And then, because Ronda was really only she only had that one background. She's not like these new crop of fighters where they have multiple backgrounds. Around that time, that's where
she was still part of the era that were specialists.
Yeah, where you were specialized in one section, and then you focus heavily on that.
If you think about it, the group of judo guys that she was in with was legendary. I mean, it was Manny and Caro and them guys. Being able to grow up around that group is definitely unique. But
and then that's what kind of like when she transitioned to wrestling made it even crazier that she wanted to give homage to Roddy Piper, because if you think about it, back then, Roddy Piper was trained by him too. That was one of the guys that he got trained by back in the day with when he wrestled in Canada and then got into pro wrestling. That was one of the guys that gave him a lot of his background.
It looks like Jimmy's going to be hopping in the back here in a second. So let's real quick switch gears here. Obviously, this next segment is brought to you by Gleason's Bar and Grill, located at 6700 Mill Creek Avenue in Levittown, PA. Use promo code HED for 10% off your order whenever you dine in, take out, online. Gleason Bar at Steaks.com. Make sure you use that code 82D. Let's see if how Jimmy's doing here. How you doing, brother? Jimmy.
What's going on, guys? I'm good. You?
I'm great, everyone. This our guest for this evening, this afternoon, wherever you're tuning in tonight to watch this is former UFC bantamweight, current BKFC fighter Jimmy Altero Rivera. How we doing, man? First time I get to interview and actually see you, talk to you. This is a totally different platform this time. So definitely looking forward to this one, my friend.
Yeah, man, it's good. Everything's good. Just getting ready to hopefully fight soon.
Yeah, I mean, you had the event go off last night. Mikey Richmond did his thing, right?
Yeah, he did. It was a good fight. I mean, some of the fights were just straight out brawls. Some of them were, there was some technique there.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the thing. You're going from being top level guy. You've been through all the levels in MMA. Taking some time away. Here and you signed with BKFC. Obviously you tuned in last night. How you feeling on how you're going to weigh in when you're a guy who comes from a technically sound background, coming from Tiger Showman's things of that nature, and looking into what bare knuckle boxing is now.
Good. I really enjoy boxing. It was one of the attributes I enjoyed a lot training for MMA fights. So I'm actually, I can't wait for it. I'm going to enjoy it. I mean, there's no, I'm worried about my hands the most thing, but that's it. I'm not really worried about getting hit. Just fucking up my hand.
How's the transition been for you? Because MMA, you got the several backgrounds you got to work with and training, but here it's just all about your hands.
So much easier. Just all I have to do is box. It's so much easier than doing.
He doesn't have to worry. He doesn't sprawl no more. I don't got to worry about changing levels.
Grapple, all this shit. Yeah, I don't have to worry about getting kicked anymore. That's always fun. Not having to worry about that. I mean,
leg kicks, yes. I think they're probably one of the favorite things. You don't have to do no more check kicks, right?
Yeah, not even that. Like at the end of the year, I was training like November time or was around, or maybe September. I was training, helping my teammate who just won tonight, Julio Arce, fight.
Yeah.
And he just threw a round kick. It just hit me weird. I ended up getting like an MRI, getting checked out. And the doctor's like, yeah, you'll be fine. Like I had a whole brace and everything. He's like, you could take that off. The hospital went overboard because I just wanted to get an x-ray, make sure. Because I wasn't,
Yeah, you know how it goes.
I have pain tolerance. So I'm like, all right, all right, I'll wear it. And I went to the doctor on Monday. It was like Friday night. Monday, I went to the doctor. He's like, just try not to use it for a little while. He's like, you literally, like, I got the MRI. You literally had extra bone growing in there that chipped off. It's nothing bad. I'm like, all right. He's like, just don't worry about it. I'm like, okay. So, but it was just like, it was off a kick. He threw a body kick and he had a shin guard on. And I'm like, I'm so happy I don't have to get kicked anymore. Like,
and that's a guy that you just mentioned today, got the win today. Congrats on him. And they talked about it all flight earlier, how crisp his boxing has looked, because of course he has that big background. How much have you been able to go to him and get help with that, knowing that that's going to be a lot of what you're going to do in the BKFC?
None at all. We train here and there together.
Yeah.
But he's not like the possibilities for fighters. He's not like the style that will work for me. But we actually have a guy that trains on our team. He's I think he's like 30, 33, 1-1 or something like that, with like 27 knockouts. He's retired boxing, but I'm like the guy Paulie Willock. He's been working with me a lot with like mitts and stuff. Besides my boxing coach Ray Velez and Shions, Danny and Tiger and Ron Showman. I've been sparring him a little bit too, and he just he's a lot heavier than me, and heavier than where I'm gonna debut at 45. But he's
that was what I was gonna ask. If you stay down at 35 or 45.
I'm gonna try to do all three. I'm gonna see you and go through all the 45, 55, and 35. Have some fun with it. I mean, it's boxing. It's interesting. The guy at 55, Luis Palomino.
Yeah.
The MMA fighter. He's like 26-9 or actually maybe he's 26-19. He's got a crazy record like that. Something crazy like that. I'm like,
He's
this guy.
he's a literal like what you're talking about. He's a brawler. He's not a technical guy. So I can see where Jimmy would want that fight. I could see that.
Palomino, no, he's technical. I thought he was way technical. Palomino, you're talking about? Are you getting confused with someone? He just fought the same night that Chad Mendes fought, and he just like he's pretty technical. He doesn't go crazy. He doesn't like to be in the pocket and bang. He likes to box and keep the person. He's a smart fighter. There's other guys though that like to just fucking swing. So wait, who fought last night? What was the names again? Because I'm horrible with the names.
I mean, there was a lot of fun ones last night where you just see like it was just something you would see in the back alley. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but the 55ers, the guy that won the main event was 55, right? Too.
Was Adler's? No. He has one coming up.
The main event last night for bare knuckle. Why am I forgetting the name? I would have to look it up, and I don't want to move the camera and all that because I'm using it. But
wasn't it Rickson?
Yeah, but I thought. Hold on, I'm gonna just pull it up myself, so Jimmy doesn't have to. But forgetting to pulling up notes.
But why he's looking that up? And one of the questions I had for you was just the style of training that you had, like when you were fighting MMA, was just very crazy to think that you had that karate background.
Rickles and Richmond were the main event, but Isaac Doolittle and Jared Warren was the co-main.
Yeah. That's who it is. That's who it is. That's 55, right? Those two
I
guys.
believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he's gonna fight for the belt next. What was his name? I think he got the knockout in the second round, right? I'm bad with the names.
Yeah, see, but it's also you're so new to it. It's not like you've been on the circle for 2 or 3 years. That this is just your first couple months, and you're about to have your first fight. Hopefully, we can get some announcement on that within the next month or so, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm be honest with you, I can remember a face. I'm just bad with names, but I'm hoping to fight next month and get in there already. I'm looking forward. I was hoping to fight sooner. I was gonna do Triller, but they ended up canceling the card. And bare knuckle was always in hindsight right afterwards, so we're looking forward to it. I know that we tried to get something early on, Knuckle Mania, before Triller card came up with Chad Mendes, but he said no to the fight. So there was nothing that I could do from there. And then the opportunity came to do Triller. I was like, oh, yeah, I'll do that. It's cool. That sounds fun. And then they canceled the whole card like 3 weeks out, which was horrible. And then, then it was like, then we sat back down again and met with Dave. And we're like, yeah, let's do it. Let's get it going. And I was actually hoping to fight. Like, if anybody drops out in Knuckle Mania, I'm like, let me know. I'm in shape already. I can jump in and fight 45 or 55. I'll jump in there. But no one fell out, so it wasn't, Yeah,
the next one, the next main one should be fun too. The one, I think it's the end of April. Was it Hunt and Riggs?
I gotta look. I'm
Joe Riggs is fighting. I guess the guy the champ in that weight class, Lorenzo Hood.
Okay,
that's just gonna be nuts.
Because even you can, it's not that. It's just because it's bare knuckles new. It's like you can ask me, oh, they're fighting in UFC. I'm like, who's fighting?
You're probably okay.
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
You're just like, I know him by face, just not by because there's so many fighters now in so many different organizations.
Well, that week of the fight, I look at like, oh, that's the fight card. Cool. Maybe I'll tune in.
But no, like you got to think, Jimmy's like, dude, since me and you first started talking, the combat sports, and me and Daniel were talking right before he came on. It's just changed so much. It's just so much. Like where MMA was just like the only way you and the UFC was just the only way that a fighter could kind of really make himself a namesake, like where Conor McGregor has and Ronda has over these past 10 years. But you looking at what bare knuckle's done in the last 5 years, you looking at even what boxing's done in the last handful, where people were Dana White was sitting there in the last 10 years sitting there saying it's dead. Well, it doesn't look as dead as he said it was. And then you see what jiu-jitsu has become, sport jiu-jitsu, things of that nature. Combat sports as a general has just grown so much over the past 3 to 5 years. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah, it's definitely growing. And I mean, the UFC really did step it up when the pandemic started and got its shows going on right away. per the contract too was ESPN. But at the end of the day, it's like you see what other organizations doing, what Dave's doing. Dave Feldman is doing really well with bare knuckle. I actually think he's doing better than you look at. Like one is very big in Asia, but in the
their market is insanity. Like just because of what their market is, that's why like they're as big as they are. But like, yeah, I think what Dave has done over the period of time, you can't talk that away or things of that.
No, that's why they're trying to. That's why they're trying to bridge over here with like the free YouTube shows for majority of the place. They're trying to kind of late in the game, trying to transfer that audience over to here, even though it's early in the morning. That's what hurts ONE FC is all their shows are over there in Thailand or Singapore, and it's just hard for this audience early in the morning.
But I think here's the thing. I think if ONE FC were to link up with like ABC or NBC, like one of the big ones over here, and got them in a situation where at least a handful of times a year where they kind of could placate to what the American audience, I think they could find something where they will catch on more here in the United States.
Well, they did that last year.
Yeah, they did
with TNT, and it worked out really
well.
But
I don't think TNT is the right place for someone like ONE. I think like even when UFC did the Fox deal, it was only for a short period of time, and like as people, whether you liked it or loved it, it kind of helped the sport grow in a way, helped the promotion grow in a way where you see a lot of things that I think if ONE was kind of make a connection with one of the three major TV companies here in the United States, I think you could maybe see a difference in 2 to 3 years. But you have to find some stars. I mean, they just did bring. I definitely got to show Danielle Kelly some love because she's one of the girls here from over here in Philadelphia, and I think she's going to be a big star over there in ONE in the next year or two too. We got to see how she translates to MMA. She's a Daniel Gracie product from early on. I haven't been keeping up too much on where she's been training, but she's a next level grappler. We got to see if she's someone who could help that promotion grow. But you also need the guys there too. You have to find more people to kind of tune in your product. It's nice to have a good face, but you have to kind of get more than just a handful of recognizable faces to kind of make it to where you're at. Dave Feldman's kind of been lucky to been able to pull from both boxing and MMA to do what he's doing with BKFC. Hopefully ONE can kind of get a splash here in the American market.
Yeah, I think Dave, what he's doing on the, if you're looking at the whole global on the West, what Dave's doing is big. I think he's even surpassing like Bellator now with all the cards and how they're going and the side. I mean, starting to tune in and watch the cards.
I wouldn't disagree either because listen, I definitely got made love for Dave because again, Philly guy, he's from the area, but like you said, like Bellator has done things in a way and that's great, but he's you're gonna get him, like I think before the end of the summer they're gonna be back. He's gonna be back over in Europe. He's going everywhere. He's doing the same. If you look at it, it's almost the same formula what Data did to kind of grow the European side of things when we're still UFC was still in double digit numbers.
Yeah. So I think Dave's doing a really good job with it. He's also treating the fighters really well and giving them good pay where, some places you go or even start on the UFC is tough. You got to really work your way up to get paid. Even some of the guys that are in the top 10 are, not getting paid as much as, guys used to.
You think that's probably one of the things that kind of really hurts, I think, the UFC long about keeping some of their talent long term is because of the fact that there's so many avenues where guys can get that money. You see Anthony Pettis' little brother just kind of, he made a post, I think it was last week, like wasn't hating on the UFC, but he's made the money that he made in 6 years of the UFC in less than 2 in Bellator.
Him, Ryan Bader's made a hell of a
Corey Anderson's another guy that kind of jumped over there too. But like those are just like small examples. Like and that's just the money side of things. Like like Jimmy, you come from the UFC. You know it's not like Dana completely craps on everyone on his roster. He does take care of people, but I think that he was also limited to how that company's run. Correct?
Well, yeah, I mean, he doesn't own it anymore. He is the matchmaker and the president of it, in a way, I guess you want to say, but IMG own it. But yeah, there's a cap now, but the thing is that it's the UFC, so it's not what grown the most over the years. It's just the name, the promotion itself. But then, like you said, you see a lot of guys. Like the biggest thing you're going to see, I think, coming up within the next year, 2 years, year and a half, maybe, is that what's going to happen? Like, one of their biggest names, Francis Ngannou. What's going to happen with him? I mean, I was told the other day, my wife and I were talking about it. She was telling me that they served him, I think, papers, like just saying, you can't, try to entertain the Tyson Fury fight, where I think he was saying he wasn't trying to do it. He's like, I'm just trying to get my knee better right now. Like, I hurt my knee in the fight and all that. I had to get surgery. So I think he got either 2 more fights or 3 more fights or 1 more year deal on his contract after he won the belt. So now, does he just write out the year? I mean, he got a pretty paycheck. Is he just write out the year and after the year's up, not fight? Or does it say in his contract he has to fight at least?
And this is almost like what we dealt with when Brock was the champion. He was kind of going back and forth and didn't really know what he wanted to do in a sense. If you want to look at it from the outside looking in, obviously it's a completely different situation. Francis has no aspirations for wrestling. But he does have a rather large name, and he's running out of list of guys to fight. When you have a guy like Tyson Fury, who's, like I said, when I tell you that boxing has kind of rejuvenated itself over the past, 5 to 10 years, Tyson Fury is one of the guys behind it, and that fight alone could probably take care of anything he could possibly imagine for the next 2 generations of his family.
Yeah, I mean, that would be definitely a good fight. I think it could go good both ways, just in general.
I think if we ever see something like that, can we ever do it like in a legitimate way? Like have a 1-round boxing, next round's like MMA. Then you switch things up, make it fun, like how one did.
They have some shows like that too. I know some amateur shows because of some of the amateur guys. They got it where it's like kickboxing the first round, then second round is like kickboxing with takedowns, and third round's like straight MMA. You could do takedowns, stay on the ground. I don't know, something weird like that. But I know they have some stuff like that. Like one does, they do it amateur, which is interesting. But I don't, even if you see that fight with Francis, not anything against Francis. I mean, if he lands that one shot, he could knock out Fury. But Fury's
eating a lot of punches from guys who I think could probably, you could say, hit harder or punch or more sound, more sound punchers than Francis is. So who knows? I mean, a lot of people didn't think Tyson Fury would make the comeback that he did and how he did it and everything like that. So who knows? Combat sports is a weird thing. Sometimes, you think everything. No one really saw the Anderson Silva run coming the way he did, but then he was amazing for the longest time. And for the longest time, I didn't think anyone would ever be able to be able to put him out. And then, obviously, Chris Weidman was kind of the end of the aura that Anderson had built for himself. But it was still like it's to sit there, like it's one of these things where we always ask for these kind of amazing super fights, especially at heavyweight for whatever reason that is. And here we are again. Tyson Fury and Francis Ngannou are arguably the 2 biggest heavyweights in their respective disciplines. And here we go again.
Yeah, but Anderson Silva, forgot who he boxed, but he had a boxing match that did unbelievable and won.
Chavez. I think it was Chavez.
Yeah.
I think he's. There's a rumor he's supposed to have another exhibition. I think before the end of the summer too. Yeah.
It's not that he doesn't have it, but it's also the same thing. Like, I think, looking from the outside, like Brock Lesnar is like, he got one more win in MMA and then he went back to wrestling. I think at the end of the day, it's just so much on your body, especially as you get older, his age. He's not old, but as you start feeling it and doing all that stuff for MMA, it takes a toll on your body. It is. It's a lot different than, you can have a longer career in boxing. as long as you don't get hit that much in the head. But you have a long career in boxing compared to you can have in like MMA.
If you're a defensive, if you know how to move your feet and head, you can have a longer career in boxing than you would than you would in MMA. And my man Catino always hops in here. He's telling us it was Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. So yes.
Yeah, and I think a thing with the fighters now is you got to be able to be a little bit of a businessman with how you market yourself. That's the thing with Lesnar. He was able to market himself where he was able to go between wrestling and then MMA, make the most money, and then when he felt like he was able to get more money out of the other, he jumped ship, jumped back, and then that's what he did. And with these MMA against boxer matchups, you're making, as a fighter, win or lose, you're making a lot of money. Conor McGregor was able to make so much with that matchup against Mayweather. You had, even though Woodley didn't do as well, he made a lot of money with that. It's creating more of these matchups about money. And I felt like
I think some of those are just more those aren't real fights. Those are like
it's always going to be. It's always going to put it's always going to put your ear there where you might not want to do it, but you're going to listen to it if the number is right, and you're not going to say no, but you're going to be like, how much? Because that's always been the talk with the UFC has been how the guys are getting paid, and that's why. With all these different promotions,
he wants the Joseph wants the young Irish star the face off against the fading Irish star here. But I think that's a fight 2 years in the making. The UFC don't want that anytime soon.
No. But that's what I love about all these different promotions now. That's what I liked about BKFC there. Bellator bringing in a certain with the Grand Prix, ONE FC as their Grand Prix. It's giving fighters more options to look elsewhere, and they have to be able to challenge that to try and make themselves more money. And that's why these celebrity fights have come into fruition, like I was saying before, because of the options and the way people promote them. If you can make a lot of money doing that, you're not going to say no to it. You're going to want to do that because it will help you set yourself up in the future money-wise to then you can be a little bit more picky with how you fight. And I'm sure you saw BKFC being in UFC, you saw it as a good investment for yourself to get into and trying something new.
Yeah, I mean, the money was really good too. And then not only that, but I like boxing and I'm good at it and I enjoy it. So it's like one of those things that I definitely want to flourish. I'm not just doing it for a paycheck, like pulling nothing against Askren, not pulling Askren where he went in and he had hip surgery. He just started training again. He went in against Logan Paul and just, made $500K in a minute, 30 seconds, whatever it was. But again, are you going to save that money? I mean, as a fighter, it's a hard thing if you need it too. And is that a no? I mean, all you got to do is get in there and box and do whatever amount of rounds for, $500K flat. You don't have to worry about winning. You're just getting a flat rate. That's more than what you get in when you fight for the UFC belt, depending on where you're at.
That's the rough thing. Sometimes it's getting to the point to get your time in to get the money to kind of pay out the way you need it to. And it's I don't blame any of these guys for letting their guys, girls, or whoever to let their contracts run out and go seek better situations in some of these other promotions. As we were talking, it just the landscape has changed so much. Like when I'm talking to some of these younger fighters, UFC is like, yeah, that would be nice, but I also want to make sure that my family's taken care of and my pay's right. Not unless you're one of those top 5%ers, you can't come in demanding that. But and I think that's not a bad thing that where the UFC kind of has the market cornered anymore. I think it's it's a good thing where we're talking more about bare knuckle boxing. We're talking more about Bellator than just where it was 10 years ago when it's either you talk to UFC or that was it. It just wasn't worth the conversation. I mean, it's one of the things I'm more excited to see what happens over the next few years, as the continued development of each promotion, each sport, boxing, MMA, bare knuckle boxing, whatever. Because even bare knuckle boxing has grown a lot. We have 2 or 3 promotions. There's 2 in the United States. There's a few more overseas. It's going to get more interesting to see what happens with combat sports over the next few more years as well.
Yeah, for sure.
But I know we've been rambling along here. Daniel, anything else before we let Jimmy go as we're getting up against it?
Just one thing, and something that enamored me was the fact that you have a karate background and then a wrestling background. I've never really seen too many guys combine the both of them in mixed martial arts and to be so successful like you were. How was it to try and find a way to put them both together and to formulate a way to train and fight? Because you don't see a lot of guys wrestle and then have a karate background at the same time.
Well, I started at Tiger Showings when I was a kid, and my actually my business partner now, when he was my instructor, my boss, he was like, you should wrestle, you should do something and get into like a sport in high school. So I ended up wrestling, and it was just one of those things where it was like, it's going to help my MMA career and what I want to do when I'm 18. I can start doing MMA fights. So I was like, fuck it, I'll do it. And it was not really hard transition. I going from going to karate and all that. It was wrestling and everything I'm doing, because we always, even though Tyrann Showman's was karate and then we were MMA, changed to martial arts, we always did MMA. We always did boxing and kickboxing and takedowns and jiu-jitsu and all that. But I think one of the biggest things was when I was in high school, the transition from, doing MMA, doing Tiger Showman's, and not choking someone out on the wrestling mat and realize there's no submissions, in a wrestling match. I remember my first, we had my first tournament, my first match ever, just being on the mat from my high school. Remember the guy shot in, I sprawled, and I went for a guillotine, and I was like, oh shit, I can't choke, and I spun around too. It's just one of those things that after that, I had a couple incidents, just like that one where I did choke the guy, but I was about to finish it, and then I realized, oh, this is not MMA, and I spun around, got 2. I mean, that was the hardest thing. I mean, it's a different aspect too. You think wrestling, you don't want to be on your back and get pinned, and MMA, jiu-jitsu, it's okay if you land on your back, or if you're on bottom, you want to be on your back. So that was that different attribute. But besides that, I never had a problem transitioning. I mean, it was something that was really important, and something that, like, even after high school and before I did the Ultimate Fighter, that I worked on a lot to get better at it. With one of our wrestling coaches, Rusty Reed, I did a lot of private lessons with him, and just taking wrestling because, I just put it in the head, like, if someone could take you down in a fight, like I fought Sterling one time, and he couldn't take me down in the fight. Then it comes up to how the stand-up's going to be. Unfortunately, he had a good game plan. He was very long stuck and stayed out, but for him not to be able to take him down, who's like a big wrestler, grappler in MMA, was important to me. So it definitely paid off, and it was definitely well worth it. And
you just mentioned Algio. How you think he's going to do tonight, brother?
I don't think he's winning.
You think Jan's going to do it this time?
Yeah, unless something crazy happens. You know what I mean? It's, everybody has a chance again. But if it goes to the scorecards, I think he wins it. Jan. I think Jan wins it. There's just, Sterling has to be able to get him down and keep him down. And I fought Jan too. And Jan's a hard person to get down. And
just keep there too. That's the other thing.
Yeah, even Jan's wrestling, his defense is really good. His offense is not bad, but his defense is really good. And I think that people don't realize that. So
yeah. I love Algio, but I agree. I think Peter's gonna find a way to get the belt back and get his hand raised. We'll see what happens in the future moving forward. You never know, you might get a trilogy out of that, but we'll see. Jimmy, how I typically end things up here is kind of throw the proverbial microphone over you. Anyone you'd like to thank, training partners, teammates, shoot out your social media sites, any sponsors you have, any charities you're working with, anything you're doing outside the cage you want to let the people know about. The time is yours, my friend.
I got my school in Short Hills, New Jersey. So anybody ever wants to come by, take class, or just come say hi, you can. Besides that, Edge, who does my PT, Eat Clean Bro with my meals, my first round management, my manager, Tiger Showman's, all of them. I appreciate it. I appreciate always the support and sticking with me. And you can find me on Instagram, Jimmy Rivera. There you go.
Yeah, it's Jimmie, people. That's how you're gonna find them.
Yeah.
Hey, Rivera, you can find Rivera, and then you can find.
All right, Jimmy. Appreciate the time as always. Hopefully we can hear some announcement of when your BKFC debut will be. Hopefully we get you back on here again here in the future and have some more fun here on A2D Radio.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
All right, everyone. That was Jimmy Altera Rivera. Definitely a fun one. Jimmy's been all over combat sports. As we were talking to, he's been at it on every level. Wrestling. Combat, every part of combat sports you can think of. He's about to finish it off as he's about to go into bare knuckle boxing. So,
and then it was kind of perfect night to have him on because the two guys that are fighting tonight in Jan and Sterling, he has firsthand experience of fighting those two. So, it's really cool to get his opinion on it.
I'm not gonna not take his insight on that matchup. I had to take advantage of that. Wanted to make sure we got it, him in and out and Alpha here. Another 2 hours in the books just flies by. Didn't even realize it was freaking. We were like 25 minutes into the interview. I'm like, we gotta put a bow on this one, but. We'll be back next week. Obviously, playoff basketball is going to be upon us. We're going to be joined by former Philadelphia Sixer, former guest here on A2D. Jermaine Jones is going to help us kick off playoff basketball for us here at A2D Radio's weekly roundup. Hopefully, Zach will be back next week from his wedding vacation. Another fun one. Appreciate everyone in the chat. Like I said, guys, make sure you guys are keeping tuned in on all our programming. Like, subscribe. Regardless if it's Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, whatever. Make sure you're following us on our platforms. Keep it on update with all our programming. Regardless if it's us over here at the weekly roundup, the Kick It at Stateside guys for soccer, Tommy and the boys are always on and off of here for post game shows, other shows. We got wrestling, we got everything you could possibly want here over it.
Yeah, we always got the wrestling guys that come on afterwards.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they're on after us today, or I know they moved it around because of some of their stuff, but if not, Andy and the boys should be on here in a few minutes as we're getting off of here. We'll be back next week.
Yeah.
I'm Steve. That's Daniel.